Okay, so our deep conversation is kind of a follow up with my topic of the day where I went over some statistics and I wanted to kind of mesh that in with mental health. So here is some of the research I did, and some of this was done like a long time ago when I first started my stroke journey because I've made a commitment to myself to stop researching so obsessively. So, first of all, the World Health Organization says that 15 million people have a stroke per year, which is pretty staggering. And of that 15 million, 5 million die, and then 5 million are disabled. But what I want to focus on is my type of stroke that I had, which is SAH. And the research says that it varies across the world. And the incidence rate is 9.1 per 100,000 persons per year, which they said kind of equates to like 5% of the strokes. And that's a very small percentage out of, if you think of 15 million people who have a stroke. And then, I mean, it just shows how rare SAH is. In the United States, in particular, there are 30,000 people who suffer from SAH. The incidences were higher in Finland, Japan, and the lower South and Central America, which I didn't know about that, and I kind of want to go against like my commitment and like research why it's higher in those areas. But focusing on the United States, 30,000, think of how large the United States is, and it's a rare stroke. So the spontaneous SAH, which is what I had, occurs in 1 per 10,000 people. And I'm so sorry. Allergies. It's allergy time. So anyways, the death rate for that type of stroke is between 40 to 50%, but they feel that the trend is improving. Why the trend's improving, I don't know. They don't give a lot of insight on that. I don't know if there's just more information out there for people to read about, or maybe people are taking healthier measures that are not contributing to this type of stroke. So the delay in the diagnosis is the high contributing factor to your outcome. So they do feel the mortality rate has decreased, which is great. But they said that 10 to 15% die before reaching the hospital. And a lot of that could be that people have that worst headache of their life and are not aware that that's kind of a sign that things are about ready to go south. So they pop some Excedrin, sleep it off, and then they don't have a good outcome. The other is 25% die at the hospital within 24 hours. So, my thoughts on that with the 25% die at the hospital within 24 hours is, I believe that when you go to the hospital, how quickly they respond is going to be your outcome. So when I went to the hospital, they thought that I was, like I've said before, either drug seeking, which would be odd since I told them like all the medications I took, just in case they gave me anything, I wouldn't have an adverse effect. So, I mean, who does that when they're like drug seeking? And B, I've been in the hospital before for severe migraines. So they were like, she's having another severe migraine. So let's just give her a migraine cocktail. So I had a fight. I had to argue my way for a CT scan. So because I was not letting loose on this, they finally rolled me back to get a CT scan. And they were like, lots of blood. We got to get you transported downtown where they can take better care of you. So my outcome came out different because A, I was quick to react, and B, I pushed very hard at that hospital, like, get me a CT scan now. So, just important little factors. Okay, so now let's go to the statistics. Oddly enough, majority of it comes from the UK. Why the United States doesn't have a lot, I really have not come across a lot. And most of it is more explaining what an SAH is, but not really the statistical part of it. And I don't understand that, but thank you to the UK for supplying the information. So in the UK, they had like a study that was focused, but they split it out into 55 different studies, and 6,327 people participated. Seems like a small number, but as rare as this stroke is, I guess that's a substantial number of people to participate. And on the depression scale, it was 0 to 61%. So that's, kind of, great, that there was 0% in there. And then, it was kind of like maybe above medium on the depression scale. The average age was 55, and they found that depression, which I said yesterday, they echo it in this research that depression was more frequent with women. They did say that there was a lack of methods for treatment trials for SAH related depression, and they try to look at different areas like demographic characteristics, cognitive impairment, because if someone has, they have to rely on someone to do things for them, their risk for depression is higher because now they're depending on someone, whereas before they were more independent. So I can see that being there. But with all these factors, they're saying that there just is not enough research. So I don't know if there was an issue where maybe they couldn't come to a conclusion because out of that 6,327 people, if some of them just kind of dropped off, or they didn't have like a lot of follow-up on it. But they ranked the severity symptoms as mild to moderate, and they do admit that it does become a chronic course, and the frequency of it does not decrease in time. And that's just one research, which doesn't sound so great, does it? And the Journal of Neurology, Neurosurgery, and Psychiatry, again done in the UK, this was one study, and it was smaller. It was 55 people, 35 women, and 17 men, and the age range was a little better. So it was 27 to 82 years old. And 47 of them had a clip procedure, which is what I had done, and 4 were coiled. And they said that it's weird that there was the ones that had a good outcome ended up having poor functioning afterwards, like with their mental health, and that the clinically significant levels of high anxiety, which is different from what I read in another journal where they said that anxiety was not prevalent and that it kind of fizzled out after a while. This one says that anxiety was higher, but they also acknowledged that the rate of depression was high. And so 9 months into the study, they followed up with the patients, and they said that their depression doubled. It increased. And also, those who had a good recovery had post-traumatic stress disorder, which I fall under because I had a good recovery and I have post-traumatic stress disorder. But I will get into that part in a little bit. Then there was another research, and this was one study, again, another small group. It was like 70 people. And the researchers said that it was hard for them to conclude because, yet again, relatively little attention has been paid to emotional outcomes after SAH. They say that it was moderate to severe levels of depression at 40%, and 16 months after the event, it went down to 20%. So that's some good data there. However, anxiety was 40% and long lasting. So that's great. So they ended it and they said it is suggested that measures taken to prevent or treat such anxiety among survivors of SAH may be severe to significantly improve functional outcome. Yes, I agree with you guys 100%. This is my whole fight that I am trying to do, is mental health plays a huge factor in our recovery, and it's not addressed, and there's not a lot of resources, and we have researchers out here that are trying their best, but there's just not enough participants, and there's just not enough data, or they acknowledge that support's needed regardless of how low their numbers are. But I would like to know, like, how do you sign up for a trial? Because I will sign up for a trial. Like, I am more than willing to participate. You can follow me till the end of time to see how I'm doing. So I just didn't know. Why is it that, like, the emotional outcome is just so different? I don't know if it's, when you do trials, you have to have volunteers. So maybe people just are just not wanting to volunteer their time. Or maybe information is more private, or being able to access this type of, volunteering is just not promoted as heavily. Would you like to be part of a study so we can gauge emotional health? I don't know. I don't see that here. I've looked, don't see it. So if anyone can tell me about that, that would be great. So first and foremost, before I start going into the mental health, I am going to say it is essential for you, if you are going through any kind of mental health problem, to see a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a therapist. Absolutely number one thing that you need to do, because they are the professionals and they have all the resources to handle this. Now, if you feel that you aren't as severe, but you want to know some coping mechanisms, I'm about ready to let you know what those are. So, I went to Anxiety and Depression Association of America. Some of these, pretty basic. So, 1, take time out. Very important. I discovered this last week. So last week I was in a awful funk, like just not myself. And I said, stop. And I took time out and did some self-care. And I think that's important for everyone, that like you cannot be go, 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 go. You have to like have a moment of pause, and you need to be able to take time out for yourself. And self-care, it's very important. Two, this applies to everything in general. I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't under like pink eye or bug bites. That's how much this is said. Eat a well-balanced meal. Yes, of course that's important. It's important for our bodies to have appropriate nutrients to survive and thrive, and for brain health. So yes, I agree with eating a well-balanced diet. Now, did I do that? No. I ate like crap. I ate like a toddler. It was awful. And I like to eat sugar. But I had lost a lot of weight, and I was trying to put on weight. So I felt like I had an excuse. Now I'm back to what I should be weight-wise. So now I'm like, okay, now you got to actually really eat like healthy. So I am doing that. Trying to, at least. The next one is limit alcohol and caffeine. Yes, alcohol is not a Band-Aid for anything, period. You should not drink to suppress your feelings. And alcohol enhances those feelings. So, I'll admit, back in my 20s, I did like to drink. I did party. So, and then when I went back to school, drinking just wasn't a thing for me anymore, because I was working all day and I was going to school at night. Didn't have room for drinking. And, to tell you the truth, just nothing tasted good. So why drink something that just wasn't tasting good to you anymore? So, I admit, like I drank maybe like once or twice a year, and, it's usually during the summertime. And plus I'm on sleeping medication, and you just don't mix booze and sleep meds. So I just didn't do it. But after my stroke, definitely alcohol is like a no-no. No big deal for me. And then next I say caffeine. And I had a serious Diet Coke addiction. It was very bad and concerning. And I quit cold turkey. And I'm very proud of myself. But I will not give up my coffee. I do not care. For my mental health, I have to have coffee. You do not want to know me if I do not have my coffee. So, look, I gave up my Diet Coke. I'm not giving up caffeine. Sorry, not going to do it. Next, I say, get enough sleep. Of course you need sleep. Our body needs sleep. It repairs everything. That's a very obvious one, of getting plenty of sleep. But when you have anxiety, kind of hard to sleep, because typically if you have anxiety, you're overanalyzing. So if they're trying to say that as a preventative measure of having anxiety, yes, I agree. But if you're having anxiety, it's a little hard. So you need to come up with methods to help you get better sleep. Me, I'm a little different. I have sleep issues. So I'm not going to dive into that one. Next one, exercise daily. Not a lot of people like to exercise, and some of us are limited on what kind of exercises we can do depending on your outcome. It's hard to exercise. I get it. I have been been in sports. I've worked out. I've done it, and I know that the beginning stages suck. It's like you just like want to cry as you're like putting on your exercise clothes and starting off. You're like, I can't do this, but trust me, it gets better the more you do it. So please trust me, it does get better. And, exercise can be all sorts of things. You can go for walks, you can go for a run, you can lift weights, you can go on the treadmill, you can ride the bike. I like resistant bands because it's multifunctional for me. So I get a lot out of it. I can do crunches, I can do my legs, I can do my arms. I feel like I get a lot out of it. I'm at home. I can do it in my PJs, so I'm not having to be like, get my workout clothes. So resistant bands, very good idea. So check those out if you dread working out. But yes, it is very important. Next is take deep breaths. Now, I agree with this, but I suggest watching a video on how to appropriately take deep breaths. I used to do the deep breath method, and I'm like, it is not working. It sucks. Didn't realize I was doing it wrong until I watched the video. So I suggest watching the video, but deep breaths really does work. So try it out. This one, a little funny to me. Count to 10. Count to 10, I can see working if like you're in a business situation. Let's say you're in a meeting and someone says something to you that rubs you the wrong way, or, in any conversation. And instead of coming and saying something out like that's like knee-jerk reaction, counting to 10 before you say it could save you from a lot of trouble. So I don't think that really prevents anxiety. I think that's kind of like self-control instead of making like a mistake of saying something bad. So I've mentioned object looking works great. Like when you find yourself having anxiety, that you focus on objects and like tear it apart and describe everything, because your mind is like taken off that. So I kind of suggest that over count to 10. I mean, if you want to count to 50, that's great. That might work. Except that you can't control everything. Of course, we cannot control everything. I think deep down we know that, but does it get to us that we can't control everything? Yes. Does it weigh heavily that there's situations that you once could control that you can no longer control? Yes, that is true. But you have to come to a resolution with yourself that, well, maybe you can't control that situation anymore. There's other aspects of your life that you can control, and that's your emotion over how you feel. So, I think it's just accepting that you cannot control everything. It's just not possible, period. So learning that you can't is very healthy. And then do your best. Of course, we all want to do our best. Every day we get up and we try to do our best. The thing is not beating yourself up over it, is I think what they're trying to get at, is that if something fails, you know that you gave it your all. So if it didn't work out, you go, you know what? I tried my best. The result didn't come out the way I did, but I feel happy because, I gave it my best shot. So knowing that you tried your best is good enough, despite the result. You don't beat yourself up over the result. You acknowledge and celebrate that you tried your best. So, my favorite one is welcome humor. Love this one. I love humor. It gets me through everything. I surround myself with people that make me laugh constantly. That's why I love my husband. He makes me laugh like constantly. It's like he's on like a performance every single day. He can't control himself. So he makes me laugh. And then, same with me. Like I like to make people laugh too. Like that's my favorite thing. I like watching people laugh. It gives me joy. And I make fun of myself often, and it's not because I have low self-esteem, but I just like making fun of myself. And it helps me get out of some bad situations where like things have like fallen down and I have to make a joke out of it. It is like the only way to get through it. And I learned it in the hospital. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like, going to the bathroom or doing the baths, like you've got nurses around you, and it's like dehumanizing to sit there and like use the restroom and bathe with like a bunch of nurses around you, and then, for me as a female, like I have a male nurse, and like, he's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I just don't even care. I just don't care. I just laughed about it. I was like, that went out the door like a long time ago about me caring. So because I laughed about it, made the experience so much better. So I really, really, really think that like finding the humor in things is such a great thing. And maybe I'm advocating that more because it works so well for me. But trust me, when you find humor in any situation, it just makes it better. Trust me on that one. I make fun of myself constantly. I make fun of everything. I don't make fun of people though. That does cross the line. I will never make fun of someone. I make fun of myself. So, maintain a positive attitude, of course. Who wakes up saying, I can't wait to have a negative attitude today? I cannot wait. No one. We all wake up and want to have a positive day, right? But maintaining it takes a lot of effort because something could be thrown in your way that totally derails that positive attitude. So you got to learn methods where when something gets thrown your way that kind of sours your positive attitude, that you use that tool to kind of bring yourself back. So using those methods that I've just mentioned might bring you back into it. It gets easier the more you do it in practice. Next, get involved. That's important. Getting involved is a great distraction and it makes you feel good about yourself. It's overall healthy. So I think that's important. I'm getting involved in the stroke world. Sometimes they say try not to get involved in something that affected you, but I feel like I have something to offer and I'm passionate about it. You don't have to do it. You can volunteer at a pet place. I would, but I would end up like stealing every single one of the dogs and then I would get arrested and that wouldn't be good. So that's important. Get involved. It's good. Talk to someone. Make sure that you have a good support network of people that you can call. Make a list that, you know what, today is a bad day. I'm going to call person A. I'm going to call person B, C, whatever. It can be doctors. They have hotlines on the internet that you can call and talk to just a stranger just to get you through. So it's important to talk to someone. You cannot bottle your emotions. Sometimes I admit it. If my husband's not home and my mom, who I sadly call, it's not sad actually, it's a good relationship, but probably sad for her that I call her constantly. Not available, I'll say something to my dogs. I don't care, no shame in that. So next is depression. They don't go into detail about that because they kind of promote more the medication part of it. Obviously, yes. So sometimes you do need medication to level yourself off. That way, because you're level, then you can start utilizing the tools to build to get yourself to a healthier place. It's not a long-term method. Sometimes depression is because of a chemical imbalance. So nothing wrong with that. But depression, they do talk about medication. One thing that I find very good and effective is cognitive behavioral therapy. Try it out. see a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist. They're great at helping you utilize those tools for CBT. Do not sign up for the ones that are on the internet. I did find some on the internet that are like $70. Don't fall in that loophole. See a professional. They have workbooks out too, like that you can use once you get better to help you out. So use that, but do not pay someone online for that CBT treatment. So, and then they go over body, mind, and spirit. So body, exercise, sleep, diet. We covered that with anxiety. Mind, they talk about being more creative and, like doing art, therapeutic, get it out. Education, start learning something. Like if you dive into something and start learning something new, it kind of piques your interest more and you get excited about something. So find something that you don't know about and, start learning something new. I mean, that helps. The next one is spirit meditation, doing a good act without wanting something back or recognition, which I think is very important, and faith. So we're all different, right? So some of us have strong faith, some of us don't. Some of us love to meditate, some of us don't. I'm kind of in a conflict. I'm very science oriented and was that way when I was young, so it kind of soured faith for me. I'm kind of finding after my stroke, kind of teetering the other way. I feel like something saved me. I'm confused at the moment. I don't know. I grew up in a Lutheran family, and but growing up, I felt more Judaism, like that I felt more relatable in that sense, and then Buddhism. So my sister and I, though, we took a religion class together, and I suggest everyone do it because it's so fun to learn about different religions and what everyone does. It really opens your eyes. I mean, it doesn't matter if you agree or not. It's just very interesting. So I suggest doing that. And so part of the assignment was we went to do a meditation, and it was 1 hour of silence. Awful. I could not shut my mind off. I was like listening to like the air conditioning units going off, and it was in our Nelson Art Gallery Museum, and like it's like you could hear people walking. I was like, oh my God. And then my legs were hurting, and like I was like, I think I've lost function to walk again. And so I was like, it's not for me. But in theory, I love Buddhism, like of the mindfulness, just not like sitting there in silence. I like the other factors. So I'm in a self-discovery of that, but it's very important to have that, because if you have something like faith that you like, anything that brings you out to give you purpose, I think that helps with depression. So whatever it is that you believe in, go to that source and go for it. And if you don't have anything where you're kind of lost like me, then maybe it's time to discover it. So check it all out. It is really fun. And last is post-traumatic stress disorder. So that is what I have, and I am battling. And it is, and I feel guilty for even saying it, because like, first of all, the ones that have it the worst are our wonderful troops who've gone to war and come back, and like sounds trigger and it's awful. So I feel bad for even putting myself in this category. But post-traumatic stress disorder happens when something horrible happens. And so for me, like, there like are reminders like I was painting my nails that night, and then I got up and that happened. And so like when I started painting my nails, like it triggered like that feeling, and I was like, oh my God. And so there's certain things that happen that night that like if I hear something or whatever, it triggers post-traumatic stress disorder. And I have nightmares and they're awful and I'm dying and I cannot get out of it, and it gets better and then now it's back, and like I'm even in the daytime it's awful. And for post-traumatic stress disorder, you can't manage that on your own. I'm sorry, but please seek professional help. I admit I am seeking help. Thank God I have an appointment this week to discuss that. It's been discussed before, but we need to do some more work because it's not getting any better. So post-traumatic stress disorder sucks. It really, really sucks because it's just like, it's like whatever was around your surrounding sounds, something, smells, whatever happened in that moment that something bad happened, that is your trigger. And when you smell or feel or whatever goes on, it clicks. And then the nightmares, it's awful. It's just awful. And just for what I went through, like I just can't even imagine what our soldiers have gone through, or other victims with stuff. And like I said, I know everyone's journey is different and we shouldn't compare, but I do feel guilty for even mentioning that I have post-traumatic stress disorder. It's awful, guys. It really is awful. So anyways, that's my topic. I try to go through it fast because I only had so much time. In fact, I had to empty a ton of stuff off my phone in order to make room for this video. So but anyways, stats, mental health, look into it. I finished my blog. It's about celebrating your strides post-stroke, which helps with mental health, to when you feel a certain kind of way, that you look at all those strides and be proud of yourself. And if you look at all those strides, like I think it will give you that boost to do, like feel like I did my best. So hopefully you get something out of this. So go to brainstrokevoyage.com and check out that blog. And this will be on my YouTube channel under Wendy Tietz, Tietz. I always have to spell it out because no one ever can manage. You don't know how many ways people try to say this last name. I used to have, my maiden name was O'Brien, so easy. Now I got this name and it's like, my husband said good luck with it. Now I know what he means. So, yeah, so you can go to my blog and I'll post the video on there too. But anyways, I hope this is helpful. Let me know any of your thoughts if you have any, but I will try to think of something to cover deep discussion next week. But like I said, I really do feel that there is a huge, huge hole in mental health after stroke. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. Thank you.